special grace of God, the person
by our amiable professor. He has laid the foundation very well. Mine is just to add to what he said. He has gone into the detail of how to achieve a 1 trillion economy. And the question is, how do we achieve that 1 trillion economy? He has said it all, that for you to achieve a 1 trillion economy, you must have a stable exchange rate, you must grow your economy by 2 digits, and so on and so forth. Are we ready as a country to achieve that? The topic of my presentation is just like a build-up to what he has said. The topic is transition from a consuming to a producing economy. And you cannot achieve 1 trillion being a consumer. You can only achieve 1 trillion if you are a producer. When you produce, you export. As you can see from the slide, we have, from the beginning, we have a group of a family that are seated. Please go to the first slide. The first slide. Because it's not clear, you can see a group of people on a table, on a dining table, eating food. Then at the top there, you see a group of farmers trying to cultivate food for themselves, not only to feed themselves, but also to export to other countries. On the conceptual issues, the successful models from other countries, how other from being a consuming to a producing one, the strategy for African economy, some simulation, empirical simulations. Then we look at a little remark and a conclusion. The background of the paper, that is the background and the contextual issue here. Nigeria, the giant of Africa. Are we really the giant of Africa? From us. Even in West Africa, we have so many countries that have taken over from us as being the giant of Africa. In terms of population, yes, we are. But in terms of economic achievements, in terms of economic transformation, in terms of output, we are not yet there. Yes, to be there. We are a country that is blessed with vast untapped resources, both human and material resources. We have them in abundance. But despite this abundance, to achieve our desired objective. Now we have a problem at hand to tackle or to solve. We look at what really defines Nigeria, just of African economy. We were, the whole world referred to us as a developing nation. What are we doing to the resources we have? One of the major problems we have as a country is that we are import dependent instead of being an export-oriented economy. Nigeria is a resource-rich country, but limited in value addition. We are physiocrats, not mercantilists. Physiocratic in the sense that we dwell so much even exporting the raw material without putting value into the raw material we are processing. What we do in Nigeria is to create jobs for other people outside the country and leave our countrymen in abject poverty and unemployment. Then another question I used to ask myself is that from where it is to a $1 trillion economy, you produce what you cannot consume and you consume what you cannot produce. That is what Nigeria is doing. By maybe increasing the market size, expanding our economy, the horizon of our economy, where we're going to be linked with other economy of the in the region. Next slide. I think I'm reading from my own. Yes, okay. So the next slide is just like trying to give you some stylized facts about what is happening in this country. We have like top 15 traded products, that is the import, the ones we import in this country. And we have top 15 traded products that we also export to other countries. And also we have top 10 import and export trading partners. The reason why I'm bringing this is for us to see a paradox with the irony of trade in Nigeria. From the import side, we import more of the byproduct of crude oil. More of the byproduct of crude oil. And we are major producers of crude oil in Africa. And import the byproduct of the raw material. How do we expect to see growth in this kind of a situation? The first product in the round that we import as a country is motor spirit. Motor spirit. It means we now sell our crude to them outside, creating jobs to them, and we now fold our hands to become, to be what? To be a consumers. Then how do you expect this kind of a country to grow very fast? Then ironically, what we export is crude oil, petroleum oil, and the likes. We rely more on one product, move alone, so that at the end of the day we'll see the kind of country we are living in. First on the list of the countries we import from. We import from China, Belgium, India, Malta, United States, Brazil, and the rest. But top on the list is China, which constitutes 23.33% of our total importation. But when it comes to export, China doesn't make 10, the list of the 10 export partners, country partners that we have. It means we are exporting to those countries that we are not even importing from. So I now ask myself a question: what are those the bilateral agreement that we sign with our trading partners? At least if we are importing more from China, then we have to see China also. Are we together? We export to China also. But we dwell more on import from China, but China doesn't make even the 10th, number 10 in the export list. Then it means that something is wrong somewhere with our foreign policies, with our trade strategies, which we need to re-strategize to get things done properly. Maybe as a leader in your house, always you used to go to the market and buy rice, yam, and eat. So one day you wake up in the morning and say, "Madam and my kid, please come to a round table meeting. We have the meeting." Instead of us going to the market to buy, why can't us cultivate a piece of land where we can produce? We are saving our resources, we can feed ourselves, and if possible, we can sell to other people. That is what we're saying. That we want to transit from being consuming to a producing nation. How do we do that? There are challenges. The challenges of achieving that, one is the infrastructure. As an agriculturalist, you need a route. Are we together? You need a motorable route that can transport your goods from one destination to another. More than 40 or 50% of our people are unbanked. So you find it very difficult to even bring them into the financial realm. So we keep saying we want to achieve 90%, 95% financial inclusion, but up to now we've not achieved up to 30% or 20% of that. So we have a problem here, finance, no money. I can give you one story. Find a way to link the demand of the economy and what we are teaching our students. And that is why conventional education, innovations in our institutions are very, very key. Vocational education, vocational. We have policy inconsistency, and we have our regulatory environment is somehow, I can't even describe it. Clearly written, but you go scot-free. Have A, B, C, and D, you go punished in the world. And how those countries transited from being a consuming to a producing nation. And what are the key indicators? That in this paper, I try to look at indicators like GDP, trade balance, inflation, exchange rate, and external reserves. Now, most of the countries I reviewed has a stable price. That is, their inflation is very low and very stable. Countries like South Africa, like Malaysia, like India, like Singapore, together, their price is relatively stable compared to Nigeria. Their growth trajectory is like very high. In terms of growth, they are growing very high. In terms of buffers, external reserve, they have a huge in terms of external reserve. And you know what that means. If you have your external reserve very high, it means you have a shock absorber that can absorb, that can stabilize your currency, and also which will translate into stabilizing the prices of your goods and services. Though the relationship between exchange rate and prices are not direct, we have a lag impact, or we have what we call exchange rate pass through. All these countries, they have huge buffers in terms of external reserves. Their currency are relatively stable. Their trade balance is positive. Their GDP is like moving in the desired direction. But not all of them in terms of GDP. There are some of them that move away from being consumers to producers with their GDP very low. And that brought us to that conclusion that GDP is not a true picture of whether a country is doing well or a country is not doing well. From those countries that we've reviewed, the transition from consuming to producing economy would focus on two things which Prof mentioned: exports and industrialization, coupled with innovation and technological advancement. You cannot move away from a consuming nation when you are import dependent. You must produce, not for consumption, but for consumption locally and for export, to earn forex, to boost your reserves and stabilize your currency. So this time around, we move away from GDP being a measure of economic progress to human capital development index. We have cost of living index. Are we together? Yes. There are many indexes that have been developed, been constructed to determine, to measure the rate at which a country is growing. So the focus for this country also should be that we must focus on export-oriented activity and import substitution activity. Try as much as possible to industrialize the economy. Then strategy strategic policy implementation and investment in the infrastructure and human capital. That is another lesson that we've learned from them. They invest so much in their human capital, skill development. That is human capital development. Human capital development. Government cannot do it all for us. Government cannot do it all for us. You ask yourself, how many people have I sponsored to go and do A, B, C, and D? How many research and development projects have I sponsored?
Thank you very much, Dr. Aminu. I had a purpose, but it was more again.